You know what Canyonlands autopilot is?
It's a recording system.
Oh,
Canyonlands. Canyonlands.
The next way to be running.
I added him.
Is that correct?
no,
I didn't think so.
but I don't know what autopilot is either, really. I mean, other than what we were just informed. So,
I thought it was on this.
We are on the internet. That's the technical difficulties we're having here, I think.
No, it should be live streaming.
It is live streaming.
I can't get the agenda to open up.
Do we go to CSWA?
Yep.
Admin?
Yep.
So I'm online, and these coming up, but I just can't get the agenda.
Okay.
Pretty sure you're on the internet.
Transfer.
CSWA admin.
Password.
Number sign, then the number one, numbers, underscore, lowercase s, lowercase w, capital D.
I obviously don't use much.
Right.
980.
Since we're live streaming, I'm trying not to say it
All
too much.
right.
I wondered.
Okay,
Where is it?
so
Oh, that.
all of a sudden became alive.
So we're live streaming or we're recording?
Yeah, everything's on.
Okay,
Good on.
great. Is everyone ready?
Yes.
I believe so. So, yeah. Kevin?
I think so. Let me see if I can pull
Is
that
that
agenda
a,
up.
is that a D? So,
Got it.
I don't have my glasses. Is that a D?
Okay, Kevin's got this now.
Yep, I'm ready.
You can start without me. I'll without it.
Okay, I'll call this meeting of the Solid Waste Special Service District Number 1 to order this May 17th, 2023 at 4:08 p.m. Present are the full board, Kevin, Mary, Diane, Chad, and myself, Kaylin, as well as district staff, Mike, Chris, Savannah, and LJ. First up is citizens input. There's no one present. Is there anyone in the waiting room? It is not Nick. All right, no citizens to be heard. Approval of meeting minutes from April 19th. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of April 19.
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Review and approval of expenditures for the month of March 2023. Does anyone have any questions, or is staff going to?
We can go ahead and pull up the expenditures. Yeah. If you can share the screen. You'll have to scroll down further. Going past that. That's the minutes from last meeting, so it's past that.
And now we can-
And then we the page after this if we want to go into depth as well. Okay. So as noted, payroll expenses for March were a total of $224,310.88. This is including benefits. Payroll continues to be 50%, the majority, over 50% of our expenses. Repairs and maintenance, total payments for the month were $15,157.89. Another large payment was to AMCS for the project management of the new software for a total of $19,044.79. We also had Lance Excavating here for the chipping and grinding for the mulch, and that cost us $29,105.25. Fuel totals for March were $22,919. And then we also had a down payment on some new containers that were approved in a previous meeting to 5 Star Industries for $25,593. And then finally, Intermountain Trailer for a new used trailer, but new to us, $16,695. So those were the bigger expenditures.
Thanks. Any questions?
How close are we to paying off the software bill with that 19,000?
It's going to be ongoing until we're done with the training, and then we'll have a subscription every year.
Okay,
So
but the 19 is gonna be ongoing. Is it gonna be that?
well, it was 2 invoices.
Okay.
So it was one for, I believe, around 9,000, and another was 10,000. So
Okay, yeah, that was those two invoices.
And there's no more questions.
I move to approve the expenditures of the month of March 2023 in the amount of $473,973. $473,972.95.
Thank you, Mary.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Kevin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Review and approval of expenditures for the month of April 2023.
okay. So payroll total expenses for March were again, sorry, on the wrong one. From April was $299,401. Again, it includes benefits and also an advance payment for May's PEHP health insurance premium. Repairs and maintenance total payments for the month were $21,430. Payment to AMCS for project management for the month of April was $9,000. Then we had a lease payment to Cap Financial for the motor grader, $12,375.29. And then the fuel total for April was $19,655.94. It was down slightly from March.
Full price, fuel prices come down at all, you guys, or they keep going up?
It's slowly coming down, but then it went back up again.
Right.
Then you just 125 miles away, big difference. Gone down everywhere. Except for Utah. I move to approve the expenditures of the month of April 2023 in the amount of $527,749.40.
Thank you, Mary.
I'll second that one.
Thank you, Chad. See no discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0.
Right.
Sorry about my timing. Review of RFP for future financial planning. This was not in our packet, was it?
Well, that is because it just closed at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
We did get 3 I'm glad. I was afraid we were only gonna get one for a little while, but we did get three in various details. We did go through the state procurement posting, so that is all on appropriate measures. Now it's to be reviewed. Like I said, I just closed at 3. I have not read every document. But short and sweet, basically, they're in. We do have 3 proposals.
What is the cost of each? Can you see that real fast?
I want to compare before I throw any numbers out, if that would be okay. 2 of them are very, very close, and one of them seems a lot less than the other. So I want to see if there's something I'm missing before I.
Well, yeah, because that always makes you.
Right.
You're like,
priority votes.
But I was impressed. At least 2 of them listed timeframes, and they feel they can do it in 5 to 6 months and have a proposal. And that includes wage study, not wage, yes, but also future pricing for our services and restructuring whatever we may need to do as far as our financial situation. So I was pleased about that, the timeframe.
So that's going to be in the RFP, is that it'll be 5 months out?
They would, basically, this lays it completely out, especially 2 of these lay it out very well, timeframes and everything, and have the proposal, what we need to do, all of that in 5 months. Which a 5 to 10 year study of our pricing, a 5 to 10 year studying of what we need to be paying our wages, as well as whatever we may need to do financially. I was afraid it'd be a lot longer. I didn't know what to expect. I wanted to move forward as fast as possible for a variety of reasons. So initially it looks pretty good. We'll have more information that we can discuss at next month's board meeting.
Well,
Go ahead.
if we're going to wait till next month's board meeting to discuss it, then there's going to be 6 months out.
I see your point.
And so I think this is so crucial that I would prefer to personally to have a special meeting or something to go over it so we can get it approved and underway sooner than later, personally.
And so a question and a comment. The question is, how long do you think you need to evaluate these?
We can do it together at any time. I need, like I said, it just closed literally at 3, and 2 of them came in after 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
What I'm asking is, like, do you and the team want a week or 3 weeks or?
I want to move faster than that. I haven't even had time to talk to Nick. I'd like Nick, LJ, and myself to sit down and go over them together. And we need to do it as soon as possible. I don't know if we'd be able to get it this week, but definitely next week, don't you think?
I don't know.
Next
We have
week is the
audit.
audit. We've got the audit next week. So that's gonna tie
So
them up.
possibly after the audit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Nick, when do you leave? How long are you staying here? Can you hear us?
You're muted.
I'm gonna be out there as long as you need me for that week. So I'll be out there Monday, and then if the audit concludes like they're thinking by Tuesday or early Wednesday, then we've got Wednesday and Thursday we could discuss.
I think we could go over them by Wednesday of next week, as long as the audit concludes on schedule.
And then my comment was that at the city, for significant consulting work, sometimes one of the council members will be included on the
Discussion.
on the selection committee. So it's not a quorum of the elected body, but they participate in a more in-depth review that results in a recommendation to the electeds. And so I'm wondering if the board would like one of us, or it could even be 2 of us, to participate in this. And then Mike, if you would like input at that level, or if you'd rather just.
The more input, the better in this case, so that everyone understands the situation and the costs involved. I would welcome it. if you want one or two or however many, next Wednesday at 2:00. We'll sit down and go over this. I'm just throwing out a time.
What does the board think about having one or two of us participate in the selection process?
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure I want to do it, but somebody with more experience than me, maybe.
I'm available, I'd be willing to.
I have something at 3. But
I mean, I think between the, what is it, 4 of us,
Well, yeah, it'd be fine. Yeah. I would look at it and work with it, but
Couldn't we send it in an email to Mary so that maybe she could take a look separately?
Well, I was thinking as treasurer, she probably should be informed. We could send that out to both of you tomorrow, and if you.
well, that would be great. Then I could read it, talk to Kalen about his thoughts, and at least send an email online.
That makes perfect sense, and it would probably speed the meeting along when we do meet next week.
oh, absolutely. Like, I don't want to, often these things require time to read them and then you go back to the first one after you've read the other two because you realize you've learned what you need to be looking for.
They are from a few pages on up to 50 some. It was amazing.
But you have them in the PDFs.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Any objections to Mary and I reviewing these and participating in the process? It's we're able.
If you want a third eye, if you guys run into trouble. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, and then we will, it sounds like potentially we could have a special meeting. Do you think we could actually, would you like to attempt to do it late next week, or do you want to go early the following week to have a little buffer?
Well, you know,
Like often, like part
are
of this
you
process.
planning on making the decision on Wednesday when you guys get together? Like,
Go ahead.
So often my experience is that we'll choose a front runner, like one or more will stand out as front runners and then references will be called.
Mhm.
If they provided references and if you want to do that, which can take at least another day. So optimistically, like Friday would be the earliest, I would guess.
And that'd probably be good to do because then it's Memorial Day weekend,
What would be good to do?
Friday.
Before the long weekend.
I think I completed my thought. I completed it in my head.
Okay,
Because it shouldn't be a long meeting.
No, it should, if we got the research done, we should be able to make a decision, call in, open the session and go.
yeah,
What's our bylaws say as far as the number of people that have to be in a central location for a meeting?
As far as board members, I think it's only one. So
Yeah.
Kayla and I looked at that once before.
I'm sure I thought, good. So we meet real fast, you know, most of us can zoom in.
Right.
Okay, that's only be in there.
So we're looking at the 26th then?
yes.
So we have a
Is that
time.
time? I tried nights for me to get it on the calendar, so I double schedule.
I would only be available before about noon. Well,
How about,
noon's late, but when I have to take
Cut
off
how about,
Oh,
until about noon, so.
how about
Oh.
8?
in the morning?
Yeah.
Actually, I could do it every, now that I think about it. I could do 8:30.
Where I go exercise.
I'm just throwing out ideas.
No, how about 10?
Okay,
No, I don't have to.
And this is the last Thursday, it's next Thursday?
it's next Friday,
Friday.
the 26th.
Okay, all right.
26 at 10.
Right, and we're anticipating that almost everyone will probably just zoom in.
Yeah, because it's, it's gonna be here what it is, approve it so that we can get it to them.
Can you just send those proposals to the whole board? So
I don't see any reason not to. We
Yeah.
can-
Oh, yeah,
my-
it'd be great.
the more time I have to walk out through them.
Okay.
I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time, but it'd be nice to look at.
Everybody will have them early tomorrow morning.
That'd be great.
That means already doing this.
Great,
That's
I'm
great.
really glad that you got 3 responses.
Yeah.
I was getting nervous about 2 o'clock. I'm like, just one?
All right, well, if there's nothing else on that, move on to a discussion of increasing e-waste rates.
Alrighty. Can we bring that summary up?
I just noticed we skipped over the review of the requisition number 18.
Oh,
We skipped over.
Is it not on the agenda? You meant to put it on there.
It's,
Okay.
it's down in old business.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We didn't skip over it.
She just wants to be.
This is something that I came upon this month when I was doing research on CAMS, our e-waste provider. Bottom line is, we charge 30 cents per pound for residential e-waste up at the CRC and 50 cents for commercial accounts. Well, TAMS, who has the state contract, are charging us 44 cents a pound. So I am recommending an increase on both of those. It's my understanding that it has to be a public comment period. So this is a recommendation really to be voted on for the next meeting. I would request that we increase it to 50 cents a pound for residential and $1 for commercial. Along these same lines, I also, when I was going over the bills, Freon containing items out here in our metal pile, we have different rates for large refrigerators and small refrigerators. Well, the person that, the vendor that recaptures that for us does not make that differential. So we need to charge them all the same. We currently charge, what was it, 15 and 20? And they're charging us 20 for all refrigerators. So we're losing money every time we take a refrigerator. So these are pretty self-explanatory why it needs to be done. We need to at least break even on our services. Can you page down just a little bit more?
And that's safe.
There we go. I'm suggesting 50 cents a pound for residential and $1 for commercial and 25 for air conditioners. So that we do more than the break even, but make $5.
Would you remind me approximately how many pounds of e-waste are processed here per year?
Per year. Oh, I should have brought that with me. I apologize. I know last month we had approximately 3,000 pounds of e-waste up at the CRC, of which were our, that's another operational thing that we were our biggest customer. That's strictly things they've been taking out of the transfer station, was well over half of that. While it's all well and good to get those items and try to save them from the landfill, they are not banned from landfills in Utah. Every time we pull one of those out, we're costing ourselves money. So we basically talk to the operators. If you see it and it basically falls out at your feet, please go ahead and try and get it, but we don't want you rummaging through and going to that extra effort. So we're gonna try and bring that expense down. That's what really brought this all. I'm like, wait a minute, what are we doing here?
And that's just coming in on the trash.
Exactly. We didn't put it there. It's coming in the waste stream, either in roll-offs or trucks. Same thing with the HHW. We have been trying to catch some of the paint and different chemicals that come in the way, in the trash, in the waste stream, in the MSW. I've instructed the staff, we need to stop doing this. I do want to save those materials from landfills if we can, but we
have to.
can't be our biggest customer. We can't be causing an additional expense to the district.
Right, exactly.
You know, I don't know if this is appropriate at this time, but I was up weeding today and I had a little bit of e-waste that I forgot to take up there on the day of the Saturday. And I left it with the young gentleman there, fairly new employee.
Braxton.
Herman wasn't there. And so I said, well, just, you know, leave it for Herman. And so, I mean, it wasn't very much stuff. It was a little phone and a couple of batteries or something. I don't know. It was my husband's stuff. And I said, well, just tell Herman to tell me how much it costs whenever he gets to it. It was in a bag, some kind of cookie bag or something, you know.
Mhm.
And we kind of laughed it off. But, you know, I don't know if there could be, we talked a little bit about maybe vouchers for board members to be able to take e-waste and maybe other things. I don't know if you guys would want to consider that now, if this would be the appropriate time, but I'm just saying, you know, I don't know if I'll hear from Herman. You know, I'll mention it to Herman, he won't remember it, but you know, Herman's gonna have to,
Well, Braxton should have been able to help you.
oh, well,
Take care of that,
he
right,
he deferred to Herman.
I
So,
can't explain that.
So anyway, I skated and I didn't pay a thing. And I just began to think, you know, here, I was there an hour and a half weeding. We spend a lot of time at these meetings. We don't get compensated at all, and that's okay. But I'm just saying something as simple as a voucher thing for us, you know, I don't know, be something to consider as a new employee, new director.
We gotta get our cards done.
What we need is badges.
Badges or cards, we can flash it, back.
I mean, you know,
Board
this is the
member.
first time I've ever brought it up, but today I didn't feel really good about leaving it like that. But I thought, well, you know what, shoot, why not?
I just, I don't think we can make any decisions as far as adding any,
Well, just-
even little teeny things until we
Right,
get
but
that.
just for him to think about it though, as
To get
new
that
director, you know.
I like that.
Yeah.
for the future.
Yeah, well, thank you, Diane. I think that the board should be compensated, but I think it should be handled separately from the
Right.
fees.
Right,
But I will add that we all can, and everyone in Green County, if they happen to make a Grand Junction, can take their e-waste, most e-waste items to Best Buy for free. They'll take up to 3 items per visit. Did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
How many
How did you
items
know
per
that?
visit? How many items?
3 items per day.
how did you know that?
I don't know, I heard about it somewhere and
Best Buy.
Best Buy, yeah. So last time I was up there, I took them a printer and 2 uninterruptible power supplies. If I did batteries.
Oh,
I'm sorry, did you say Best Buy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I did know that. That is one of those things they do. Some states they're required to be, take back so many pounds based on how much they sell. It's one of those things they don't publicize greatly.
No, you have to kind of know
Yeah.
to look for it on the website to get the material
It's down there in the bottom.
Probably a sign about this big when you walk in a lot of the stores that I've
Yeah.
seen.
Right, but it seems like it is maybe part of the extended producer responsibility.
Those were the letters I was searching for. Extended producer responsibility is catching on in a lot of states where you produce this material, you've got to take so much of it back.
Right.
Especially technology that, let's face it, is wearing out faster and faster. Advancing, I guess, should be the proper term. But yeah, I did know that. I just didn't hear you the first time. I apologize. They don't greatly publicize that.
Yeah. So Mike is looking for board acquiescence to holding the moving forward, holding the public hearing to approve a fee increase. Does anyone object to that? And
No,
Say it again.
well, Mike's looking for board support for moving forward with the process to do this fee increase, which requires a public hearing. We can't just do it at this time because of the whole
So we
state
can have it
requirements.
at the next meeting.
Exactly. We would open with the public meeting and see if anyone comments and take it from there.
Just this being free for e-waste.
And the Freon, I figured might as well do them both at the same time.
right.
Yeah, well, is there anything else?
I'm searching.
This information will be
Do we need to?
part of the RFP for the city, that we are actually losing money, and so we need to have some increases and stuff, but won't even be involved in that.
No, this is just something that's, it's not charged through the city, so as the financial study some of that information will be very relevant to the
Yes.
discussions of the city.
You're correct, yeah. We'll need some of that for any possible extension.
You should be able to take e-waste every day of the week. It's not just Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the sign's up there clear.
Yeah, every day of the week.
But Herman was doing something.
Okay, so I'm not hearing any,
I do not object.
okay. Great. Sounds like you have to go ahead.
Thank you.
Schedule the meeting.
We'll put that down on the agenda.
Could we, no, we have to have, okay, never mind.
You have to make it public 2 weeks before.
2 weeks before, right? We couldn't do it at our special meeting.
Yeah.
And LJ and Chris reminded me that, so that was a big help. I'm like, we have to do what? Oh, okay, you're right, you're right.
We just can't increase the fee.
Okay, staff reports, Mike.
All righty. First and foremost, bless you. Last month's report, I felt like I was a bit of a Debbie Downer, and I just wanted to reiterate, I'm trying to stay as positive as possible. I think it's important for the staff. These guys are bouncing back. And when I drafted this last week, I felt like we were on the upswing. It has been a very difficult 3 days. Well, actually going back to last Thursday when we had that incident out there with the loader. But I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to encourage everyone else. I know, and I'm looking at you, Chris, to just, we're trying to build a base, and it needs to be as positive. So I'm trying to reinforce that. And I just wanted to publicly state that. We continue to make operational adjustments. Since we last met, everyone's start times have been reviewed and many of them adjusted for efficiency as well as possible elimination of a little overtime. The start times were, I don't want to say being abused, that's too hard, but they weren't being as strict as we'd like. So that's been looked at. I've mentioned the cash box process before, some of the tracking. I mentioned earlier, we're striving to have the transfer station floor empty every Friday, both for recycling and waste. This is just the correct way we should be doing things. So these are just some of the operational things. I'm letting you know what's happening. I met with Orion from the health department. He's got some possible ideas for some, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'm having troubles getting that name down.
Orion, is it Orion?
Orion, I'm sorry. Possible HHW coming from his background and their world, household hazardous waste, soil contamination, water contamination is a big concern. Other counties have some tipping fees, and he's got an idea. It would take, his words actually, a couple of years to accomplish, but we're at least just talking about it. Plus, it was good just to meet him and build that network. Very helpful gentleman. The landfill aerial surveys came back, and Chris is tabulating landfill space. they're coming back much more life expectancy than I had perhaps feared. Once he tabulates those, we'll probably need to get those verified by an engineer. But initial estimates show that we've got more room at Moab than anticipated. And that gets right back to some of the work he's done the last 2 years out there. They've moved a lot of dirt and he made some great recommendations. The 2 new rear load trucks were officially ordered that were approved. Hopefully the 20-yarder will be here before our next meeting. The smaller truck, which will be the under CDL truck, might take a couple of months. We've gotten 2 separate stories on that. I'm hoping 2 months. But, excuse me, it is ordered. The 20-yarder is somewhere between here and the factory in Iowa, and then it'll be in Salt Lake City, which Jessica has worked up the graphics for the side of the truck. We're gonna have them put on up there in Salt Lake City because there's more vendors there. And the dealer up there suggested a couple and we've got it on the phone. I really want that logo to be on there perfect. We could try to do that ourselves. But you get air bubbles in those and I've tried it and I'm not very good at it. So I wanted to try and get it professionally done in case there are any issues, then we can go, hey, fix it.
Pay the money, let them do it.
This is part of a bigger, I don't want to say rebranding, but I'm definitely trying to get all the monument logos. We've got some new signs to put up. It has been 2 years. It's time that went away. Plus, I just want the city and the county to know that, there's stuff going on here, changes, and hopefully they're viewed positive. Drivers, we are short of drivers. I think I told you the last month we had hired 2. We also lost 2. One of the new hires basically went AWOL. I think I mentioned that, sometimes they're just not cut out for it. From where I started, we are at least 1 driver short. Where we run into a problem is what kind of driver. Not all of them have the same driving experience or the same licenses. So we're a little short on roll-off experience. And of course, that coincides with the time of year when we're getting the busiest in roll-off. Chris and Ron have stepped up. Ron's been on a roll-off 3-4 days in the last 2 weeks, something like that. Ron has come in on his Friday was supposed to be his day off, but he's been in the last 3 working roll-off for us. Paul has helped take care of wag bags and some of the on-call stuff. So we're trying, but we're definitely still short of drivers, plain and simple. We also hit the vacation season. So that is kind of like a double whammy. You're short and then 2 or 3 of your main drivers are off and it kind of hurts. I mentioned the RFP. We'll be discussing that further. The AMC implementation continues. You may be tired of hearing that, but it's part of the deal with this IT. We're at that crucial stage of taking the data from the old system and putting it in the new system. And you've got to be extra careful or you end up with trash in, trash out.
Right.
We're hoping, we sat down with them yesterday, Savannah and LJ and myself, and said, we hope to have that to you in 3 weeks. After that, they should be able to get it in pretty fast. And then the rollout calls for us to have the new system 3 weeks before we go live so that we can get adjusted to it. I believe we're aiming for the end of June still. Is that right, LJ? Okay, you may want to talk about that further. I mentioned the tablets, which are also part of the AMC. We handed those out last week. All of the trucks have tablets. Right now, it's just for pre-inspection and post-inspections. They're used to them. Overall, it's going fairly well. They're definitely, we've got the hard evidence that they're doing the pre and post like they're supposed to.
Good.
Which we emphasized, hey, we're getting 2 new trucks. We got to make extra careful that we're taking care of these. We can't afford any warranty failures on our part. So I was very fearful of that, but most of them seem to take into it fairly well. The other thing, and Chris might talk on this, the tires, it does look like the state will be able to reimburse us for disposal of the tires.
Good.
Which I don't even know how big a figure that is yet. You'll definitely be hearing it when we get it. We've got to submit a lot of stuff to the state, to the EQ, but we should be able to get fully. Actually, I've set it up so that we're not even in the middle. We don't have to write a check. The state will write the check to the vendor. I was fearful of that to get reimbursed, we would have to come up with that huge capital expense. I guess that's technically not capital, but that huge expense. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I know it's a load off Chris's mind because the tire pile just kept getting bigger. Has it been 2 years?
July 20.
20.
Yeah, July 20th was the last time any of the tires have been picked up.
3 years.
Yeah.
Geez, you're right, 3 years. We've also established the fact that this is not a one and done situation. So, because we were very worried, okay, what do we do when we get the pile cleaned up? Do we need to start charging more? To be honest, we were like, if we charge as much as we need to, people aren't gonna pay it. They're just gonna do other things with it.
They'll dump them in the wash.
Which was, we didn't want to be the cause of that, obviously, but we also had to look at that. But it turns out we're sitting pretty good on that, and hopefully I'll be able to get some of that into the state before we meet again and have a date set up for you.
Great.
Yes, that was hanging over us big time.
Yeah.
Big time. But that is all I've got for you tonight, unless you have any questions.
I might have missed it on the tour, but when are we gonna be able to get rid of the big metal pile?
We haven't scheduled that yet. The vendor really wants us to wait as long as possible to make it worth the trip down here for them. We have been talking about that because we sat down on Levi, Chris, and myself sat down and talked anything surplus that we could possibly sell, even the old junk, even if we could just get something for it. And we talked about possibly seeing if we could do the pile more often. It's not the top of the vendors list. We talked about possibly putting it back out for bid this year.
Yeah, no, we're gonna need to put it back out for bid. And I think historically we did it once a year. We did have the last, I don't know, I'll wait and do that. I'll talk about that once you're done.
I am done unless there's other questions. You want Chris to go ahead and give his report? Maybe he'll answer that question for you.
Sure. Sounds good.
I'll start with that then. So the last time, I kind of brought this up last time, is when I was at the RCU, the Recycle Coalition of Utah. I ran into some metal recyclers. We did have a metal recycler come and audit our pile, and he had some excellent suggestions on how we could manage our pile better. Really, the things that he told me basically would cut into his business, but there's a way that if we wanted to, we could manage this pile and not let it get so big. So the reason why it gets so big is there's money. And the way that in the past that they tried to get rid of this, they actually bring down a giant baler, a portable, mobile baler, which is like over $1 million. Because I know in the past we've had dreams, oh, maybe we can bail it. But yeah, you look at the cost of those things and they're easily over $1 million. And that's just to purchase it, not to maintain it. Anyways, he gave us some suggestions, since we're really close to Grand Junction, is that we might be able to, our 40 yards that we're no longer using for recycling, we might be able to fill those 40 yards up and just take them over ourselves and just manage the pile and keep it smaller. Honestly, that is not very high on the priority list. I know that metal pile is an eyesore, and that's kind of why I agreed to have them come out and audit it. We might, I think in my mind, we'll probably go out to bid one more time and get rid of this so that if we're gonna try to manage it ourselves, we can start with 0
Yeah,
and then just maintain it. Cause for us to try to tackle that right now, it's kind of, I mean, it would be a huge project.
but if you had started from 0 and.
We could kind of load, yeah, we could load it as it goes, or, load it when we think it's can take it, and then we just take one truckload over at a time. We would get all the profits from it, so we would increase our profits. I mean, obviously that would go to paying for, some of the fuel and the transport and that, and our labor costs, but so, yeah, we have looked at that.
And then there's a way to separate it also. I think we were talking
That's,
about.
that was the other thing I brought up. I mean, it would be really easy to actually increase our profits off of that.
Mhm.
He was even like one of his suggestions, even as you're loading it, everything that falls out is actually better, and that should go into another pile.
Right.
So if we brought it over, segregated over to like Pacific Steel, I think Metro or something might be over, there's a couple of them that are over there right off the business
Yeah.
thing. And we can, we could be our own vendors, and then we can just manage it.
Right.
So do you get to weigh those things before you take them on the highway?
Yes.
Because when they load it out in Castle Valley on the cleanup, I mean, they take a big old bucket and bam, bam, down in there, and they push it in there really tight.
Yeah, no,
Gotta be heavy.
I'm a big advocate that we run legal. So yeah, we would be running
Yeah.
things
You have to
over
know
skills
how
and
much it
stuff.
weighs,
Yeah,
yeah.
because obviously we can only carry so much weight on those trucks. But,
We would not be, I wasn't there, I didn't see that on the picturing. They had a much bigger truck than a 40-yard dumpster.
Well, they had a dumpster from here. I don't know what size it was.
for the cleanup, is
The
that the,
metals.
oh,
There was a 40-yard.
And
was
any
it,
others.
oh, we
they-
did bring him a 40-yard on there for metal? Oh,
Okay, okay. Good to know, good to know.
What did you mean when you said, like, something would fall out, you could like source, what?
So basically the big pile is what they call, I think it was type 1 or something. So as you pick it out, or maybe that's type 2, I got it in my notes. So that's like the majority, the cheapest metals are the ones you basically can grapple out and put in there. But like the smaller stuff that falls out, that wouldn't be contained in that big grapple. It just so happens that that's a higher grade of metal, and you actually get more for that type of metal, because a lot of the stuff that falls out isn't like the bike frames and the bed frames and the appliances. It's actually the denser.
That's your motors, your.
Yeah, motors and all the little bolts
Condensers, all
and
that,
just,
yeah.
yeah, well, condensers are actually even a third thing. So
Mhm.
as much as we're paying, and we've been just going in for the type, the general grade metals,
Yeah.
actually condensers, the radiators, like
Oh,
he
right.
went through, he was able to find, I can't remember the number, but as we were walking around, he picked out $900. So
Uh-huh.
it took us, we spent a half an hour out there, and he picked out $900. He's like, well, there's $900. That would pay for a laborer to go through and do it. So there's definitely, I mean, but it's involved. I mean,
Exactly.
that's-
We want to do some of this.
yeah.
We don't want to go crazy because that's not our
Right.
core mission, core job. But there's possibilities there to take care of stuff in-house.
We did have an employee at one time that was an expert in picking stuff out.
Yeah, he-
Oh,
Diplomatic way of putting that.
He was an expert.
I'll just leave that one alone.
Mhm.
Okay, the other thing that I've done, we sat down last week at our kind of directors meeting, and I wanted to create a list of really high-end stuff that we're gonna have to deal with, and it's gonna take a long time to put it together. So I didn't put this in the packet, and I didn't even really make anyone's copies, because I don't know who's really interested in seeing this stuff, so I can just pass this around real quick. And in fact, I forgot about the RFP. That was a big one. And so these are things like the city contract, the Klondike permit, the Moab permit. And these are things that aren't gonna, we're gonna have to like make sure we start them the year before. We're gonna have to go out, we'll have to get RFPs. We'll probably have to get engineers, consultants to help us with the RFPs. And then we'll have to go out. We have, I think, for like the landfill permits, I think we have to submit our application 180 days before. So these are high-end things that we need to think about probably a year before they happen. And they're going to be, the cost is not going to be cheap. I mean, I hate to even venture what the cost in, but it's tens of thousands of dollars, if not $100,000 for each item on that list. So it's just things that we need to make sure that we, just don't all of a sudden arrive there and go, uh-oh.
Yeah, plan ahead.
So, and I know I keep trying to write this list, and every time I do, I think I forget about half of the things. So it was like, well, okay, I'm going to start the list. I'll keep it around for a couple months. And then once we kind of make sure that I think we got everything on it, then we'll probably throw it in the board packet so you guys, or email it to you guys, whatever is appropriate, what Mike wants to do with it.
Makes perfect sense.
The other thing that I have is, so we did our household hazardous waste biannual event. We just got the invoice, $20,000, $824.69. So we do that twice a year. There's $40,000 a year that we're taking the burden of that to try to collect our household. And that was kind of, and the reason why I bring this up was that was the motivation to try to get to do our household hazardous waste collection. So some of that, all that burden wouldn't come on us.
Say that again.
As far as what
So who would be?
well, so what we owe, what the district owes. So Veolia, sorry, I kind of just went through that real quick. So Veolia is the vendor that comes out twice a year, and they've been doing it for years and years. And the district sponsors this household hazardous waste. But as far as residential, we take the whole cost. The cost of the one that just happened was $20,824.69. So we do that twice a year. So we're looking at, about $40,000 a year that we've been paying, and we're not even providing a good service, because in between this, we're constantly having people called. And this was just, and the reason I'm pointing this out was this was the motivation of trying to do a collection on that's kind of along the lines with the e-waste and our universal waste.
We talked about storing it and how to store it.
Yeah, and they, so at the event, they came and they audited us, and they were super impressed with the way that we were doing it. We went above and beyond, so there's no issues there. We verified that they're coming down, because what they do is they come down quarterly, and we're going to try to off that to them, because we don't have our own household hazardous waste program.
Right.
We're just storing it for them, is the reality of how this all works. And so the goal is to try to make it a less of a burden on the district, but provide a better service for the community. Because I guarantee, like soon as these happen, then we get phone calls on the Monday. Oh yeah, we heard about this. Can we still take it down? And before it was like, no, but now it's like, yeah, bring it on down.
Right.
And really it hasn't been, I mean, I think there was a little bit of worry at first that we were just going to get overwhelmed with all kinds of just horrible stuff.
Right.
It hasn't happened, and we've put things in place to where, like, if it's something that we're worried about, we just won't take it. So it's not like, we're going to be taking all this horrible stuff. We just wanted, and it was mainly paints and old gas and,
Right.
Just things that people don't want to sit there in their garage for 6 months to wait to throw it away. They go and they toss it wherever. So, and I think that was all I had.
Great, thanks, Chris.
Very good.
Questions? Okay, LJ.
I don't really have much. I just was gonna talk about Nick and I getting ready for the auditors next week. They will be here early, well, not super early, but around 9 Monday morning. They did give me a list of things that they want me to prepare ahead of time. I've already emailed the majority of things that they asked for ahead of time, and then the rest that they'll collect here. So, and that is pretty much all I have.
And it seems like in the past, there's been a little bit of board involvement, like they want to question at least one of us.
Yes, they'll do interviews
Yeah, okay.
when they're done.
Yeah, the last time it was over the phone.
for me anyway.
Yeah,
So that,
all right. Any questions for LJ? Hey,
Good luck.
Thanks.
Next up is board reports. Anyone on the board have anything to report?
well, I've been trying to get through to USU because they have a master recycling program and I'm still working on talking to the new employee there with the county extension. But I did make a contact with it was identified by the Grand County School Board of Directors that only the elementary school in Moab does not have a recycling program for the facility, for the school, nor do they do any education. So I finally made contact with the assistant principal there, Lisa Bailey, I think is her name. Or Libby. And she said, come on down. She says, when the kids are gone, I only have Tuesday where I can't do anything. I'm doing administrative, so come on down and let's talk. So I said, we've got all summer to think about it, to just kind of discuss. And, you know, my thought was to, what little bit I heard about the other schools, high and middle schools, is that they're serving, that they have recycle programs and they're recycling and they have education, but in their cafeterias, still they're serving food on styrofoam. And so I thought I'd go at this with this Libby, that maybe we could look at a comprehensive thing with involving the cafeteria, which is pretty, it's gonna, you know, generate the most of this stuff. And see if we can, you know, have interest bringing on board different people in different walks of life at the school. So it's more comprehensive, not just, yeah, we put this here, and this here, and this here. It would be really different. And if we got something going there, in the high school, and the middle school might say, guess what you're doing over there? Why can't we do that? It's worth a try.
Yeah.
You shoot for the moon and you might not get it, but you shoot for it.
Yeah, fantastic. It seems like in my reading about how to tackle food waste, there's a recommendation to start with the largest institutions in the community. Because it's so hands-on, getting people to change how they do things. So it seems like starting with one of the schools is.
I just think it's fortuitous that it's these young kids,
Yeah.
because that's who we want to reach in the first place.
Yeah.
And I can show them my new thing that I made.
When I was teaching, we were recycling in grade school. What happened?
So it takes, you know, it takes someone to stay on top of it.
We were at the high school like 5 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, so.
Probably the teacher that was doing it moved on.
Well, it's true, because that was what is identified in each one of those schools that had the programs is talk to her, talk to him. And when they retire, trust me, it'll go away. So you have to have that kind of a program where you mentor new people in, you know, that want to carry forward that stuff, because, yeah, you don't get paid to do it.
Any other board reports?
The county, I didn't hear from the city, but the county did step up and going to pay for having the dumpster there at the transfer
Oh, the hub?
station. That happened,
Yeah, we did. We went ahead and increased that, yes.
Oh, did the city do that? as
No,
well?
the hub is county and Lions Park is city, even though you would think they would be
Now, is
opposite.
there, so, okay. Is the problem, is the dumpster problem in Lions Park as bad as the hub, or is it just the hub?
Well, they've got 2 dumpsters there, so they've got twice the space. They've got an actual corral there, so it's not just on the
No, you're
sidewalk.
talking the Lions.
The Lions, yes, they've got a corral and they've got 2 4-yard dumpsters.
But you can't get to it if you or I. It's behind the Lions Park metal,
It's in the corral, so
so
it's not as accessible.
different. It's different then.
So it doesn't get abused.
We don't know of any major issues. We were sure
Alright.
some people, you know, but it's not out in the open and is easily accessible.
So for the board, there's been this email thread going on between some members of the public, or one member of the public and the the city and the county and seesaw about overflowing trash at the hub and Lions Park. And my response is like, Lindo, I know we should be involved, but this is the sort of thing where I would hope that our staff would just say, we'll take care of it. There shouldn't be overflowing trash. And it shouldn't require a whole lot of elected official engagement to solve a problem like this.
Well, I think what it did lead was because it was county property that, I thought, having the, county, having our budget officer hear from the commission that we want this taken care of. I think probably expedited this, got it going faster, I'm not sure.
Definitely. I mean, we can only provide the service that they're asked for. That location had actually decreased service earlier in the spring.
That's right.
Once we went in and started looking at it, and the customer says, I want 3 times a week, that's what we provide. High profile location, there's the thought that there's major fly dumping going on there because it's so convenient. I don't know. But for the time being, we haven't had any calls or issues this week.
Is there not a surcharge if there's materials that are, if it's a dumpster and there's material outside the dumpster, is there a surcharge for most customers or for like that manual?
Not all customers, we'd like to do that. If it's not part of the original service agreement, certain customers know it's an issue. Some of the bigger customers, national parks, BLM, one or the other, it's just a fact that they're going to be overflowing sometimes. So that's built into the price initially. Really, if it's a continuing, we want to hear it from the driver and address it. AMCS will help with that because they're going to have these tablets. And if it's a continuing issue, if we tried to charge every time the dumpster was over full, we'd be pretty busy, especially this time of year. Yes, if it's a major issue, the driver needs to bring it to our attention. But it's ultimately, we can show them, a lot of customers will go, hey, that's just a one-time thing, or somebody dumped on me. We'll see what it looks like next week. They're not gonna voluntarily go, yeah, go ahead, raise me. It's not gonna happen. But yeah, we need to step up a little bit, but the attention actually definitely helps speed it along. Yes.
Because it was, and I just happened to be driving to Council Valley, saw it, and it was bad.
Well,
So-
everybody that comes off the river, it's camped up there. Usually that's the first place they dump their garbage, is right in those 2 right there at the hub.
Well, I've heard from people who sit down there in that parking lot to do whatever they gotta do, use the Wi-Fi or whatever, and they watch people. And we're not talking people coming off the river, we're not talking about people here for the vacation. People bringing their household waste and putting them in that garbage. So there needs to be some education or something.
Well, people, it's that I don't want to pay,
Yes,
and
course.
that's
and that's
a
what it is.
constant.
It is. We are trying to figure out how many homes in the county do not have any service. And in order to do that, we've got to make sure we've got the right home count in the city, and they've had some people out of the office, but I'm trying to get that count and figure out how many homes really do not have service at all.
Great,
And it
that
would
sounds
just
like
be
a
in
good
the
data
county.
point to begin the.
Yeah, that would be
Dialogue.
just the county, because right, isn't it required in the city?
Mhm.
So it would be county, and we have talked about making it a requirement in the county.
But you're not gonna do that in Castle Valley, because I live a quarter of a mile from the road where they would pick up my garbage, and I'm 70 years old. So you'd have to get bigger
I
wheels on
think
those
I
things.
should
Yeah.
restate my statement. We were talking about the Spanish Valley,
Well,
San Juan County, northern San Juan County. And,
Unincorporated areas.
yeah,
I just think that when
unincorporated
you
areas,
get
just in this area.
when you get those peoples when you get those numbers, I don't know what numbers would mean, but if you got those people and you educated them about the fact that if they loaded up their pickup truck with a big black bag and drove it down here to this transfer station, they would have to dish out $1 whole. And I think that's what needs to be, that's the education. I mean, people don't even know what this is called back here. That thing south of town, So, we need to talk about it. And these people need to know that, they really don't need to feel really bad about that because it's not expensive to put it in its right place.
That's an extra 1.5 miles to drive from there to here.
Well,
When it's
my
got a
glass is
dumpster
half
right there.
full, yours is half empty.
Yes.
But when, the city's had some people out of the office this week. Plus it's been pretty hectic. But, yeah, I'm hoping I just want to make sure the number that I provide is correct, but I am working on that.
Okay, great.
Well, that was
Any
my
other board
report,
reports?
the county did,
No,
is increasing.
Okay, moving on to discussion and review of requisition number 18. Purchase the first new rear load truck for fleet.
Pull it up. really quick.
Press the mic and fill us in. Should be.
That sounds good.
Okay, I guess it's not on that one then. Does it see if it's by itself on the phone plate? Nope. Okay. Never mind. It wasn't the packet, so I apologize.
It's the last page, 21.
Yeah, I don't think I did an amended one.
Well, in any event, it's 217,000 and change, and it's
That is for the first one. We're not, LJ pointed out, there's no need to pay him in advance if it's gonna be 2, 3, 4 months before we see the other one. So that is for the first 20-yard rear load. And that comes out of the bond funding.
okay.
there is an error in that, the middle of that signature, 500,000, it's 500, well, it's 50,000, but this is a zero there. I don't know if that matters. Talks about the March 15th board meeting.
Oh,
It's a test for everyone. You do notice, good
yeah.
job.
Well, we approved 500,000, but
Yes.
yeah, so we know what we did.
I included the minutes when I submitted it, so
Yeah,
they'd be able
yeah.
to see.
Okay, great. I'm glad that's moving forward. So if there's no further discussion, next up is a discussion on composting.
Diane wanted to make sure this was on there because there's a new USDA grant that they've come out, I think it's $9.4 million nationwide to enhance, promote, start waste reduction and composting. We're looking at seeing if we can get one submitted. It is she learned, we were aware of it when you brought that to our attention. It is due June 3rd. Jessica was trying to rally the troops and see what she could come up with. She's on vacation this week, I hate to say. Did you want to comment? You definitely wanted us to discuss it today and.
Well, it was sent to me by Youth Garden Project Director, because I go down there and do their recycle thing. But to me, if you really want to know my thought on all of this grant writing stuff, it seems as if we have two directors of sustainability in this community. One is a USU and one is a city. We have us, SISWA, and any number of other, perhaps I'm overlooking some, but it seems as if these entities that have the interest, that should have the interest to write this for these grants, should know what each one of those are doing, what, and because if I was someone awarding grants, $500,000 grant or $1 million grant, and I heard from one city, Moab, Utah, and I heard from 3 different entities that we were planning to do this with regard to composting. And then I heard another from another entity in the same city, Moab, Utah, that we would like to be doing this. It seems to me that I would be going, wow, this guy's got their shit together. And I don't see how any one entity could take just a couple of months and write something like these. I think it would take, for me, it would take a lot more time. It would take a lot more thought and coordination, perhaps, with, just a conversation every now and then with these people. But I just see it, it's just, to me, it's just so disjunct and it's so short. I mean, Jessica goes on vacation. That's okay. But, this should, if we're going to do stuff like this, we need to know months ahead of time and work on it. Maybe not every day, not 24/7, but like Chris says, you write it down on a piece of paper and you keep it beside your bed. You wake up at night and you go, good gosh, I forgot this. And that's how you write and get a good, I would say, good program for submitting for $500,000 or $1 million to do stuff. We're not, none of us, we don't, the Ken doesn't know what the writing is doing in this town, as far as I'm concerned.
Because you've asked, you mentioned Jessica and Alexi. Have you asked them if they talk to each other?
Well, I sort of have, and yeah, sort of. And I just didn't get, I remember one of them saying, well, I think Jessica's applying. But that didn't say that they knew what she was applying, what was her crux? What was the crux of her, application and stuff? So, they all know they're there. Each one of them know that they're there, but I don't know. I just didn't feel that there was a warm, fuzzy feeling between any of those entities, even to the point that they, talk to them once or twice a month, or I don't know.
Well, my feelings right now in the situation where we're at is these graphs that are in the packet and just the situation with this financially. I'm concerned to the point that I think we're going to have to really, as a board, look seriously at where we're going to cut until we get ourselves out of, we can't have a situation where we have greater debt than we have income. That's a 101. Yeah. And so that's where right now, for at least until that situation is remedied, I don't see us adding anything else onto the plates of the staff. I don't know if anybody else is as concerned about it as I am, but.
Well, this is a discussion on composting, so I'm not sure.
May I make a comment about the grant?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, I know that Jessica talked to Chris and I about it in depth when she knew, as soon as it was posted, as soon as I saw it posted, and it wasn't necessarily 4 or 6 months. I think maybe she had 4 to 6 weeks once it's posted to be able to know that this was even available. And she spent a ton of time working diligently and talked to Chris and myself and talked to other people that, about what would be the best approach for this. And I know that she did discuss it in at least one of the board meetings. And we haven't heard back yet, but I don't know if I've written grants, and I know that it's really hard to get them. And it's not always going to be what you want it to be, but at least she tried. You know, I think she did a great job personally.
Yeah, and, you know, I think that you know, that the board should be privy of what's been, you know, what you guys are writing grants for. I mean, I don't recall ever hearing anything about any grant being, you know, pursued until it's out there. You know, Jessica gave us a preview of not the composting one, it was another one that she was working on.
It was, excuse me, there was composting in that other one too. So you're talking about a different grant than the USDA grant. Two
Right,
separate
right.
grants.
But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, you know, I don't know. It just seems like you know, I would like to know what it is that you guys are up to when you're applying for grants. You know, I would like to know what you're pursuing. I'm just thinking that, you know, with the composting and some other arenas, you know, not all of us are, you know, up on it or interested in it, but some of us are. And I just think that we might be able to contribute some stuff maybe in the future.
I definitely agree with that. The only grant that we've applied for was the federal one. They moved the date back a month before we find out. I can't remember the date, but it was gonna be July. I think it's into August now. That's the only one that we have applied for since I've been here.
Right,
This
but I'm
composting is a new
I'm
one.
speaking before you too, you know, we've written grants and stuff. But, you know, it's neither here nor there. I'm just trying to give you a sense of how I see people working together or not, you know, for grant writing. I don't know how to write a grant. I know it's gotta be difficult. But I also know that you gotta convince people at the other end that what you're doing is, you know, and not knowing anything about these grants that we're writing. I don't know, I can't, I'm just saying that I think that there's room for improvement there in all arenas in the city of Moline for grant writing, because there's money out there.
So this grant was for how much?
The total pot was 9.4, I believe.
And that was nationally.
Yeah,
Yeah. But they
USDA.
were big, I mean, you have a
Those
500,000.
nationals.
Right, so how many, right, so just, let me just think about like how many cities and states and entities there are out there that might want this. And if they're big awards, how about that translates into and the odds therefore.
Yeah,
And our limited capacity, like we have all sorts of things that we would like district. I mean, it seems like it's mainly Jessica that has this discretionary capacity to do things like that. And as we've already, you especially have identified, there's multiple places where we could be doing better. So even if we can be doing better, we probably can't be doing better at everything all the time. Just because everyone's already working really hard.
and Chris, on your list, you had something about the last thing on your list was composting certificate.
It's our permit. So we are permitted to do, we are doing composting.
And
I
that is
mean, it's
the,
not the food waste, and I know there's been multiple conversations about composting. We started it but we're taking it really slow, and we're making sure that each step gets paid for, and it started with all the green waste that we get, and it's part of the mulch program. So where we're doing our grinding and stuff, that area, Moab landfill, is permitted for a composting project. So like even talking about this, the bigger grants with composting, we really can't do. You got to lay the groundwork in order to do all these things, because legally you just can't go out and start as far as a government agency. We just can't do that. So even if we got awarded all this money, we wouldn't, you know, we legally couldn't do it. So I mean, there's a lot of different steps before we get there. And part of the reason why we've been going slow up at Moab is so that we know what we're doing. And I think that it's been pretty successful. But as far as we've gotten so far is just the mulch this year. And if you'd like to be involved in it this year, we were just going to grab a little bit wet it and cover it and send in some samples, because the state also has to start approving what comes out of here. And so it's, what I'm trying to say, it's more involved than just the money part of it.
Sure.
There's some legal aspects, there's some logistics aspects, and I know that's boring to talk about, but that's the reality. And there's also the manpower and the bandwidth, and there's a lot that comes along with it.
We went down to Grand Junction when I was on this board, and looked at their composting facility, and I came away, I don't remember who else was with us, but I came away with saying, in Moab, Utah, we do not have the water to do composting like they're doing in Grand Junction.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we go. But I've done research, extensive research on how we can do it up there with the limited amount of water. But once again, it comes back to bandwidth. It comes back to priorities. I mean, Mike's initial report, we're struggling just to pick up and bury trash. And really, that's our ultimate mission.
Right.
So to add all these other things, they're wonderful, to sit around and have dreams about saving the world. I mean, somebody's got to do it. And from those dreams will come some action. But the reality of what we can get done right now, I mean, we really got to focus on the things. But yeah, that list was, so we are permitted and we can do some things up at Moab. But if we're going forward and talking about the food things, I was part of that group that was going, and they talked to the superintendents of the school. That was amazing. But yeah, that isn't going to work up at Moab because of the water, because of the vectors, because of the smells. It might work out at Klondike eventually, if we're talking about our wish list. But then we're talking about new permitting, new legalities, new logistics.
A
So
whole bunch of hauling trucks and everything else.
yeah.
Do you need a composting permit or whatever that last thing on the list to do what we're doing up at Mount?
We have,
Yeah.
that was,
Do you need it to do what we're doing now? We're not composting. This is nothing more than chip and making.
well, yes, we kind of do, because that is on top of an old pre-RCRA landfill, a dump actually. So we're doing a compost project on top of a dump. So we absolutely, anything that we do there, if we even turn over a weed, we need to have a permit that allows us to do that up there. So absolutely.
Wow.
So if that permit expires, then the whole green waste thing needs to shut down, and then we need to cover it, and we're done with that area.
It's people I've talked to, when I first got on this board, I was really excited about composting. And then when we tried it, and I still love the idea. I mean, I like the idea, but I think at this point, it is way beyond what we are able to even think about. I would hate to get the money and then not know what to do with it and have to give it back, because I don't think we can take on any new activities right now. We just have to figure out how we're gonna make it.
Well, I would agree. I mean, I don't think we have the water to do it here, but it doesn't mean that we can't educate and promote backyard composting or backyard food waste recycling, composting. I mean, we could write a grant to promote that sort of stuff. We could hire a new employee that doesn't do
We
anything
can't
but
hire a new
Well, I'm
employee
just-
when we don't have any money.
I'm just saying that's what you're writing the grant for, though. I mean, you would only do that when you got
Grants,
the grant money.
90% of grants will ask for
matching.
matching or a percentage. I don't know any grants hardly we get. CIBs don't even do it anymore. That you get where you don't have to put some money in.
Yeah.
You have to show you want it. And
Okay. Well, thank you all for that discussion. There's no new business. Our next board meeting is on Wednesday. Well, our next regularly scheduled meeting is Wednesday, June 21st.
And I was thinking about having a closed session. But I'm wondering now if it's premature with waiting until we get,
I would probably wait until we have the sick. I mean, those reports back.
do you agree, Mike?
I'm certainly good with that, definitely.
Okay. But I do think we need to, it bothers me a lot to be in this financial situation, because in my opinion, it stops at the board. We are totally responsible for the situation. None of us, it's not Mike's, it's not LJ's, it's not Chris, it's ours. And it keeps me up sometimes because I think I wanted to leave this organization better than had it when I came on board. And at this point, I'm concerned that that's not legacy. That's the legacy that we're leaving. And so I guess I'm asking every single board member to seriously consider what we're willing to set, where we're gonna have to make some tough decisions when we get this report back.
Okay. Thanks, Mary. All right. We have come to the end of our agenda. And so, I never remember the words. Mary,
We've come to the end of this agenda, so if there's no objections, I will adjourn this meeting.
so if there's no objections, I will adjourn this meeting.
No objections.
No objections.